We learn English grammar and usage, and we are discussing the course book prescribed for the third semester students of the BA English main of the University of Calicut. This is the very course book we are discussing, and this is the very text that is prescribed for the students of the third semester English BA main. We in fact completed 3 lectures from this very course book, and now we are in the 4th lecture of this series of lectures on the English grammar and usage. And the previous lectures we have been looking at the grammatical labels and functional labels of words. We continue the same today as well. We are looking at grammatical labels and functional labels of words. And we know that we understand and discuss and classify these many words of the English language based on 2 concepts. One is form and the other is function. We discuss the words of the English language. To be very precise, we are identifying the grammatical labels and functional labels of the words of the English language based on the form on one side and function on the other side. And we have studied that form refers to the category labels that we use for the building blocks of language. And we can say that we have category labels such as word classes. Based on the form, we have word classes, phrases and clauses. Under word classes, we have noun, adjective, verbs, adverbs, determiners, pronouns, conjunctions and preposition. Under phrases, we have noun phrases, adjectival phrases, adverbial phrases and prepositional phrases. And under the category based on form, we have again the third category, and that is of course clauses. And we say we have main clause, we have subordinate clause and relative clause. And these are the different category labels we attribute to the words we come across in a page or in a book as we just read, based on the form. And based on the function, of course, we have many other category labels. And in fact, we can say that function refers to the grammatical functions. Say, we can understand that these many vocabulary items of the language are discharging many functions. Sometimes these words are used as subjects. We have a sentence. A sentence is made of the subject and the predicate, the object we have in a sentence. We have the adverbial, we have the complement, and of course we have modifiers. Alright, and these labels are based on the functions of the words. And now we are just going to, of course, understand more about all these classifications based on the form and function. So we have word classes like nouns. So nouns can be the subject of the sentence. Noun can be sometimes the predicate. Nouns can be the object. Sometimes, of course, we have nouns becoming complement, and similarly we have, of course, nouns becoming the modifiers in the predicate part, where you have, of course, noun phrases, right? So we can say that we can classify the words of the language into 2 major groups, like based on the form and based on the function. And now that we know all these terms like the word classes we are sure about, the phrases we are sure about, and we are also sure about the clauses, right? So we know everything about nouns, the adjectives, verbs, adverbs, determiners, pronouns, conjunctions, preposition, etc. We have a basic idea. And in the subsequent lectures, we are just going to look at the details, right? We are just going for further divisions and further categorization of each of this. And of course, we'll be learning everything about all these labels. And similarly, we know about noun phrases also. We know that a noun phrase is a noun along with one or two words. Like in the sentence, the boy is playing in the garden. The boy is playing in the garden. We have the boy, the subject. The boy is a noun phrase. Playing in the garden. Playing is the verb, and in the garden is another noun phrase. So we know what noun phrases are. So also we know what adjectival phrases are. So the tree in the garden is very, very tall, or we have sentences like that. And in that, of course, we have the tree in the garden is very large and tall, right? So when we say is very large and tall, we have what is called an adjectival phrase. Similarly, we have adverbial phrases and prepositional phrases. Also, we have clauses, right? We have different types of clauses. The main clauses we have, the subordinate clauses we have, relative clauses we are. And now we will be looking at each of them. Similarly, based on the function, we have subject. What is the subject of a sentence? Subject of this sentence refers to, of course, right? Subject is often the main important part of the sentence, and subject can be sometimes the right a person, place, or a thing or an idea about which the second part of the sentence is about. Sentence can be divided into two. First is, of course, the subject, and next we have the predicate. And similarly, we have the predicate is, of course, right, the verb, and the rest of the words together is the predicate. Subject is, of course, the very head word, or rather the main word, the doer of the action. Sometimes like look at a word, a sentence like John writes a story. John writes a story. John is the subject. John is writing. John is the doer of the action. Or in another sentence we say Alex is an engineer. Alex is an engineer. You have no action there, but Alex is still the subject. There is no doing of the action. No action is done. But we say Alex is of course the subject of the sentence. Alex is an engineer. Why? We have an information about Alex. So we can say that subject is, of course, the number one, doer of an action, or it is, of course, the word or the name or a person or an idea about which something is said. Alex is an engineer. We have the idea that Alex, the gentleman, is an engineer. All right. Similarly, we say India is a subcontinent. India is a subcontinent. We have an idea about India, and that India is, of course, the subject, and subcontinent is, of course, is a subcontinent is the predicate. So we have subject, predicate, object. Object is, of course, right. We have a sentence like, I said John writes a story. John writes a story. The result of the action, or the sufferer of the action, is the object, right? What does John do? John writes a letter. All right, writing, right? Writing what? Writing a letter. So object we have. Similarly, we have adverbials. Adverbials like we say John writes the letter very neatly and clearly. All right. John writes the letter very neatly and clearly. Very neatly and clearly. Alright, we have how is the letter written? It's written very neatly and clearly. That is, of course, you have an adverbial along with some other words, adverbial phrase, or yeah, that is adverbial. And now we look at the complement. Complement is something that completes, and we say Alex is an engineer. Alex is an engineer. Alex is what? Alex is an engineer. So Alex, the subject, is being completed by another noun, and such nouns are adjectives. Alex is handsome. What do you know about Alex? Alex is handsome. So such nouns that complete the subject are complements. Such sometimes adjectives can be called complements. Alex is handsome. Alex is an engineer. Tommy is very tall. Tommy is tall. Tommy is handsome. Gita is beautiful. Gita is pretty. Gita is intelligent. All these are examples for complement. So complements are nouns or adjectives that complete the subject. And now of course we have modifiers. Modifiers are any words which can be in a noun phrase, an adjectival phrase, or even an adverbial phrase, which of course just modify, describe the noun which is, or even the adjective which is along with some other groups. You have a group of words like, we say the tall tree in the garden. The tall tree in the garden. So tall, is describing tree. So tall is a modifier. Right? Modifiers can be before or after the very word which is being described. So these are different category labels in the English language based on the form and based on the function. Now that we have a clear idea of the category labels, rather the grammatical labels and function labels of the English language, we can move forward to learn more in detail about these word classes. So now we can just sum up whatever we studied. This lecture series, we studied about grammatical labels, that is identifying grammatical labels and functional labels. And we have identified all the grammatical labels. Right here we have identified the grammatical labels, and we understand that grammatical labeling is based on the form, and of course functional labeling is based on the function, the duty, or the very activity that is being done by word or words, right? And based on form, we have grammatical labels like this under three categories: word classes, phrases, and clauses. And of course function, we have main functions like subject, predicate, object, adverbial, complement, and modifier. Now we are moving forward to the second part of section 2 of the course book. In fact, we are in page number 21. In page number 21 of the course book for the third semester students of the English main students of the University of Calicut, we have something like different word classes, right? All the word classes like nouns, verbs, main verbs. Okay, verbs are divided again into main verbs and auxiliary verbs, and just looking deep into the categories, functions, and characteristics of all these word classes. That is from page number 21 of section 2 of module 1 of the course book English Grammar and Usage. We are looking into the details of the categories, functions, and characteristics of the word classes. And this particular deep search or analysis or understanding of the word classes begins with fundamental categorization of nouns. And we are just beginning the very understanding of the fundamental categorization of nouns today in this lecture. Okay, so we know that a noun is a word which is, of course, the name of noun is a word, rather it is in fact the name of a person, place, thing, or an idea. Okay, that is a noun. And we know that there are different types of nouns. Okay, we have the proper nouns, we have the collective nouns, we have the common nouns, and of course we have the abstract nouns. So these are the general idea we have about nouns. Now, other than that, we understand that the nouns are again divided into or classified into two categories. One side we have what is called count nouns. Count nouns. Some say count nouns, some say countable nouns. So both is the same, right? These are different terms for the same concept. Count nouns, right? And next we have uncount nouns or uncountable nouns. So let us understand what are count nouns or countable nouns. Countable nouns are nouns, okay, which are of course things we can count, things, objects, or matters we can count using numbers 1, 2, 3 like that. So we have count nouns, all right, and we say that the count nouns have singular and plural form. We can say one man stands in the bus station. This is one man. So count nouns can be just numbered. We can number the 1, 2, 3 like that. So if it is just one, we say it's singular. And we have more than two or more, we call plural. So count nouns are divided into singular and plural. One man stands in the railway station. There are many men standing in. There could be 15 men standing in the platform, all right, of the railway station. So count nouns divided into two, okay, singular and plural. And now we move forward to the discussion of the uncount nouns. All right, what are uncount nouns? Uncount nouns are nouns we cannot number 1, 2, 3 like that. And of course, right, there are a number of objects or things or ideas around us which cannot be just counted 1, 2, 3 like that. And such objects or things, all right, which cannot be just counted can be called uncount or uncountable nouns, like liquids, right? We have different types of liquids, right? We have water, we have of course milk, and all right, types of liquor cannot be, or similarly liquids cannot be just counted. So all the liquids we say are uncount. Similarly, we have gas, powder, we have ideas like liberty, independence, love, intelligence. All this cannot be just counted, and such things or such nouns which cannot be counted can be called uncountable nouns. All right. Now we are going to, now that we have studied about the main fundamental, the fundamental categorization of nouns, okay, we have to go more into the details of nouns, and all that we are doing in the next lecture. So today we just sum up the lecture with a review of whatever we studied so far. We studied that the words can be just labeled based on the very form, and based on the form we label words into, of course, three main category: word classes, phrases, and clauses. All right. And based on the function each of the word is discharging or attributed, or just doing in a sentence, we just say that the functional labels of words can be subject, predicate, object, adverbial, complement, modifier. That's what we studied. Now, of course, we can just scan any sentences. We can look at any sentence, we can look at any word, and we can say based on the form, okay, this is a particular word, it's a noun, it's an adverb, it's a preposition, it's a conjunction, whatever that is, we can just understand, or rather we can identify the grammatical label. Similarly, we can also identify the functional label. And second part of the lecture, we looked at the fundamental categorization of nouns, and we know that there are two types of nouns, count nouns and uncount nouns. All right, this is what we have to discuss and understand today. Okay, so let us just learn all these things again and again, and ensure that we have studied everything. Let us just keep all these things in our mind whenever we write something, speak something. So I just thank you all for listening to me. May God bless you.